So before you begin, you'll need your new mini reel from Premier One Fence. You'll need an end handle. You'll need your wire. I'm using the Gallagher turbo wire, and I got a 2,625 foot roll. A small pair of needle nose, and then a good and sharp wire cutter. You'll also obviously need some sort of measuring device. This is just a 200 foot long soft tape that I got on Amazon. It's pretty cheap. It would help to have something you can stick through the center of the wire reel, the wire bundle, to help roll it out. This is just an old piece of rebar I had with some sight string on it left over from when we were building fence. So that fits through the center of the wire bundle perfectly, and then you can hold both sides and it'll just spin itself out as you walk. And if you don't have another set of hands or someone helping you, basically two anchors or two turnaround points. It depends on, again, how long of a section you're trying to fit on a reel and then how long your measuring device is. But since that's a 200 foot tape and I need 425 feet on my mini reel, I use these two step-in posts to put at 0 and 200 feet, so then I can basically walk around the post and head back down, since I don't have another set of hands holding one end for me. So after you get your tape measure stretched out in a straight line in the length that you want it, basically what I do is I put my tape measure in an area where I can hook the end of my wire. So in this case, I've got some field fence behind my gate here that is holding not only the end of my tape measure, but it's also going to hold the end of my hook. You can tie it onto something, you can wrap it around a fence post or anything like that. Having a way to secure it so it pulls it tight is going to be pretty important. And then also at one end, I just stepped in one of those fence posts you can get from like Tractor Supply or Bomb Guards, whatever. Step it in out on one end, and then if you notice, stepped another one in right at 200 feet. So after that, you'll want to take your end hook and the end of whatever wire you're using, feed it through that eyelet at the bottom, and then tie your knot. So there's my end product. It's basically just 2 overhand knots pulled nice and tight, and then I'll trim off the tail there. And you know what they say, if you can't tie a knot, tie a lot. So it doesn't have to be perfect, just a couple of knots will hold it tight. So now I have my rebar through my reel, and my yellow hook is on my anchor point, whatever it is you chose. Now I'll stretch the wire 425 feet. So after you've cut the wire to your desired length, and this is where having a nice sharp pair of wire cutters comes in handy so you get a good clean cut. You're just gonna take it, and I'll just twist a little bit. I'll go with the braiding, so the way that the wire is twisting, just to try and tighten it up a little bit, because you want as little fraying as possible on the end of your wire. Picture trying to shove a shoelace through a lace hole on a pair of shoes with a frayed shoelace. It's just not going to work. So you have that. Then these mini reels have this little hole right here, and that's where the wire is going to go get fed through, and then a knot gets tied. So the outside of the reel is the side that the knot gets tied onto, and so the wire needs to basically come up into the in between the reel sides, comes up in between the reel sides, feeds through the hole, and then the knot gets tied on the outside. So it's kind of tough. Premier One, if you're watching, I think you could maybe open up this hole a little bit to make it easier. Now, I have tried to drill these out in the past. I've got a couple old reels that I took a drill bit and sized that hole, and then I just went one size bigger and drilled it out to fit this stuff through easier. I have cracked a reel before doing that, and then if you look closely on yours, you'll notice that part of the hole is actually starting to get covered up by the reel body itself. So when you drill through that, you basically, ruin the integrity of the reel body itself. So it can be tempting to do that, but this method works pretty well, twisting it. You can also, if you have trouble with this, you can also twist it up and then just take some electrical tape and do a quick wrap around your wire. But I feel like this works easier, and then you don't have to worry about any wire cleanup afterwards. So again, feeding it up through the reel, and then it goes to the outside. And the big thing you want to make sure is, one, have those needle nose pliers handy in case you need them. But when it feeds through, you're going to want to actually rotate it in the opposite direction that you're twisting. So again, remember which way you are twisting the ends, because you're going with the braid to continue the spiral. When it starts to go through that hole, you're actually, as you push, going to rotate in the opposite direction, and that'll help feed this stuff through. So bring it in, and if you need to, you can grab it with your needle nose just to hold it. And then, I don't know if the camera shows it, but you start to bunch up. Some of the wire and stuff starts to become unraveled because that hole is so small, so it starts to bunch up. So that's where you want to twist it in the opposite direction and keep pushing it through. Just like that. So just put a little bit of a twist on it. Like I said, twist in the opposite direction, push it through. It comes through no problem. And then I just do one knot, overhand safety knot. And the good thing about this turbo wire is there's so many metal filaments in it that this stuff holds its shape really, really well. And as you pull, so like as I were to pull out all of this wire and stretch it tight for my fence stretch, it'll kind of pull into itself like that, and then those metal filaments almost act like a, I don't know, like a mold, and really hold it tight. So now all those metal filaments are balled up in that knot, and it's not gonna come back through. So there's that, and then obviously I'm just gonna walk up my driveway and reel this stuff up as I go. So there it is, finished product, 425 feet. You can see you still have a decent amount of sidewall left. So you could probably push these things, at least with this turbo wire from Gallagher, you could probably push these things, 450, maybe even 500 feet. You still have some room left to get more on there. But if you haven't used these before, the closer to the sidewalls you get, as you're reeling it up, this stuff likes to hop over and skip the sides, and then it'll get wrapped around the handle itself. So the less of a sidewall you give it, just like that, pretty easy. The less of a sidewall you give it, the easier it is. It's gonna hop off and make it difficult. But so yeah, pretty easy. 200 feet, wrap it around, loop around that post up there, 200 feet back down, loop it around that black step-in post again, and then I came up to my 25.